Throughout the Advent season, we're going to be singing a song, a timeless song. So we all know the first Noel, yes? Yes? Yes. This is a fresh version. Noel, Noel, the words go, come and see what God has done. Right? Noel, Noel, a story of amazing love. Powerful, beautiful reflection, right? Come and see what God has done. What we proclaim here is a story of amazing love. And John the Baptist, a voice of one, very much lived those words with his life. He was inviting his people in a really kind of challenging way. He said, come to them. Come and see the mighty things that God has done and is trying to do in your lives. He would dedicate his life to living out and proclaiming the story of amazing love. And think about what John the Baptist did. The voice of one literally changed everything. He tells a different story, and you and I are called to do the same. Think about this for a moment. Walk through the readings with me. The first reading is a powerful proclamation of the power of God. It is God who can level the mountains, amen? It is God who can fill the valleys, amen? Amen? It is God every day in our lives that can change everything, amen? Amen. Go to the second reading. It really is a proclamation, a powerful proclamation of the power of prayer. Over and again, when we bring ourselves to God in prayer for ourselves and others, as St. Paul does, God can give us the grace and the wisdom and the insight and the strength that we need. We know the power of prayer at work in our lives when we use it, amen? Amen. And when we live both the awareness of what God has done and we bring ourselves to prayer, then beautifully, like in that psalm, the Lord has done great things for me. My heart should be filled with gladness and joy. Then go to the gospel today. The gospel today reminds us of the power of one voice. In this case, John the Baptist. John the Baptist, as I said, is telling a different story, a story that his people and our people desperately need to hear. And we need to pray today for the grace and the courage to tell a different story. The story of the mighty things that God has. The mighty things that God has. A story of amazing. And think about this. So, the Browns aren't playing today. So you have nothing to commiserate all week long on, right? What are you going to talk about? Answer, imagine if all of us took some time today and really thought deeply about the amazing, mighty things that God has done in our lives. We all have a God story. We've seen God at work in this community. You've seen God at work in your lives. We've seen healing. We've seen God giving us the wisdom that we need. We've seen God giving us the strength and the grace and the courage to do the things we never thought possible. Amen? Amen. And we need to think about, reflect deeply on what those stories are, and pray for the grace, like John the Baptist, to tell those stories to one another. You can only talk so much about the Browns, about the inevitable snow that's coming, or what we're going to eat on Christmas. Amen? Can you imagine the impact if all of us, young and old alike, had the grace and the courage at work, at home, at our dinner tables, to talk about the mighty things that God has? That would be inspiring. It would be transformational for those who are parents of adult children. Those stories would be the ones that would inspire your children to want to continue to walk with God and to live this life of faith. We can talk about sports, we can talk about the weather, we can talk about our Christmas plans. But how much more if we would have the courage to be like John the Baptist? Now, John the Baptist came and he really stirred things up. We're probably not going to do that, amen? But if we had the grace and courage to tell the stories of God in your own life and tell them to one another, honestly, that would be inspiring. That would be transformational. That would be invitational. And that would make all the difference. John the Baptist was a voice of one, calling the people to the Lord. The first reading is a powerful reminder that God can do anything, amen? And the power of prayer can make all the difference in our lives, amen? Amen. And so this week, take some time. Young and old alike, we all have stories. We've all seen it in our community. I know you've seen it in your family. I know you live it in your lives. I've had that blessing of hearing those stories from you. Really think about what are your God stories that you can share. And pray for the grace and the courage to share those stories, to find a way at your dinner table, hey, please pass the beans, and then let me tell you about what God did for me. Pray for that courage. Because in these Advent days, Noel, Noel, come and see what God has done. It is a story of amazing love. And it is a story, like John the Baptist, that we all, young and old alike, need to have the grace and the courage to share.